Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Hart, and today I'll be breaking down the Thursday night football game here between the Bears and the Commanders. Going to be absolutely disgusting, but I'll be talking through some of my favorite plays, some core plays for you guys, as well as building out a potential lineup. It should be an absolute federal. It should be a federal crime that the NFL is making us watch the Bears versus Commanders Thursday night football. Why? I mean, every primetime game has just been absolutely god awful. As I said, this should be a federal crime that Roger Goodell has scheduled this and has not flexed this out. Um, but yeah, I'll try to break this down for you guys here. I hope you guys like the video. Hit that subscribe button. Do really appreciate all the support. Let's dive into the spread here. It is a 6 point spread, 44.5 game total. Bears are visiting Washington. And yeah, let's get right into it. So starting off, we're going to dive into the Bears side in terms of the snap counts here, kind of tell you kind of what I see in terms of the Bears. So for the running back situation here, it's very skewed data just because they've gotten absolutely blown out. Well, I mean, they weren't blown out versus the Packers. They kind of let it slip away throughout that second half there. The main consistency is that it's Khalil Herbert and it's Roshan Johnson. That's the backfield there. And it was pretty much, almost split evenly the first 3 weeks, obviously, with Roshan getting more run because of the blowouts. But, he is still there. He's still viable. He is really, really explosive, solid under the radar running back for the Bears here. So if you think this game blows out, they can lean on him. Or if this game is close, I do think he will get run here. But obviously, last game versus the Broncos, they were very efficient with the running game there. Herbert actually played the most he's played this season, 78% of the snaps. Roshan only got 22, but as I said, they could easily involve him in this game. So I think that's the big question mark there is the usage of Roshan in the backfield. For the wide receiver situation, obviously DJ Moore, main wide receiver one. Darnell Mooney is going to be wide receiver two. And then wide receiver three was Chase Claypool, or I guess he was wide receiver two for a while, but they are not playing him. They're looking to trade him. Obviously, one of the worst trades in recent history for the Bears. They were giving up pretty much a first rounder for him, and he had like 5 catches the past season and a half. Unreal. But Tyler Scott's getting mixed in. Nothing too crazy there. I wouldn't go to him because if we look at the team targets real quick here for Tyler Scott, 2 week 1, 3 week 3, none last week, even though he played about 20% of the snaps. So nothing too crazy there. I guess in a showdown slate, you could definitely take a shot on him, but he's not playing a ton of snaps and he's not really getting targeted at all. But Equanimous St. Brown is back. He played 58% of the snaps last week. He's kind of one of those random wide receivers. They can have a good game. Usually he doesn't, but yeah, I mean he's going to be wide receiver three, so he's definitely in play this week. Trent Taylor might get mixed in a little bit more. We'll have to wait and see. Same thing with Velas. He might get a little bit, mixed in a little bit there. Nothing too crazy. For the tight end situation, it's the Cole Kmet show. Robert Tynan Jr. is getting mixed in a tad, but they really haven't been looking to him a ton. And then Mercedes Lewis does play, but he's more so 99%, just pretty much a passing, or excuse me, a blocking tight end. For the target situation, we can take a quick look here. Roshan is getting targets out of the backfield, which we do like to see because he's kind of like a bruiser, but he can catch the ball. So, I mean, I'm really high on Roshan for this game because if it blows out, they're going to play him. If it stays close, they could play him. If Khalil Herbert's not doing too well, or he's not really efficient, they need like a boost. They're going to look to Roshan. So I really, really like the upside there for him right now. Um, DJ Moore, been steady, consistent. Chase Claypool was getting some targets, but obviously no more of him. Not going to play. Mooney going to have to fill in for that wide receiver two spot, and then Equanimus did play. Was it close to 50% of snaps? Only saw one target. I expect that number to jump up a bit there. Cole Kmet obviously getting all of the tight end targets. Robert Tunyon is just getting a few. Moving on to the Commander side real fast. Scrolling all the way down here. We'll go to the snap counts real fast. Brian Robinson Jr., the main running back one, but Antonio Gibson is still there and consistent. So Brian Robinson's more of the first and second down back. Antonio Gibson's more of the third down back, the receiver back. So that's kind of the difference there. But it's pretty much been Brian Robinson's backfield so far. 50% or more snaps in 3 out of the 4 games there. If they're going to be down, if you expect the Commanders to be down, I expect more usage for Antonio Gibson over Brian Robinson. And if you expect the Commanders to be up, I do expect, Gibson to get some work, but it's going to be the Brian Robinson show. For the wide receiver situation, wide receiver 1 is Terry McLaurin, wide receiver 2, Jahan Dotson, wide receiver 3 is Curtis Samuel, and they have been mixing in Diami Brown a decent amount, about 30% of the snaps the past 4 weeks, and Pringle as well. So they do run 5 wide receivers out there. So offers a little bit more guys to take a shot on, especially Diami. I'm sure he'll be popular. I'm pretty sure he got a touchdown last week. And he has a good connection with Sam Howell. Tight end situation, Logan Logan Thomas is, it's his position to lose. They do mix in a little bit of Bates, nothing crazy there, and that's really about it. They will play Cole Turner a tad, but nothing crazy. And in terms of team targets, as I said, they don't really target Brian Robinson a ton. It's mostly Gibson. If they are down, they're going to look to target. Wide receiver situation, as you can see, it's pretty steady right now. Scary McLaurin with 10 or 26, excuse me. Jahan Dotson 25, Curtis Samuel 20, and then Diamond Round, he got targeted a little bit more there in week 4, and then Pringle with 3 so far. And then Logan Thomas 14, Colt Turner 11 for how much he's been playing. That's pretty surprising there. But obviously, week 3 there was no Logan Thomas, so that did help out in terms of his total there. He obviously saw 7 there, being kind of the main tight end. But Logan Thomas is back, so don't have to worry about that too much. So diving into this Chicago side here, we're going to start with the flex prices. Go to Justin Fields. Obviously, Justin Fields is the number 1 player in terms of upside, just in terms of rushing the ball. Finally had a passing game over 300 passing yards. So I'd say right now the safest bet and the best bet in terms of captain is going to be Justin Fields. And he's one of those quarterbacks where you don't have to play anyone with him. Like, you don't have to play a pass catcher with him because of that massive rushing upside that he has. So yeah, I like him a decent amount here. Probably my favorite captain right now, so I'm going to throw him in there just because of the upside. DJ Moore, I like pairing him with Justin Fields. It's pretty much pairing him and Cole Kmet. That's the popular route to pair with Justin Fields, just because DJ Moore has been wide receiver 1. He's actually been pretty decent for how bad the Bears have been and that offense has been the past 3 weeks. 19 fantasy points, 13, 30, 7 targets, 6 targets, 9, 2 out of 3, 100 yards or more. So I think he's a very solid option. He does have enough upside to be a captain play and a very solid flex play as well. So I do like him into the lineups. Pretty expensive there, 10K, but he's a heavy part of the offense. Running back situation, I kind of mentioned it in the snap count breakdown. It really comes down to, kind of game script, because as you see, the first 3 weeks, Khalil Herbert, it was his backfield, but he's been very inefficient. He does see some targets out of the backfield, but nothing too crazy there. And I just don't love that price tag. I do think a lot of people are going to skip over at least the Chicago running backs, and they're just going to either go to Kmet, Fields, and then Kmet Fields more, or they're just going to go to the Washington running backs, obviously because of game script, because, we expect the Commanders to be up, run the ball. We expect the Bears to be down, pass the ball. So I do think the X factors, the people to help you get contrarian on the slate will be the running backs. I prefer Roshan, as I mentioned, to Khalil Herbert, especially with that price tag difference, 8,600 compared to 4,800. I mean, it's really hard to get to Khalil Herbert unless he's going to be very, very low owned. Then I'd like to get to him for like a contrarian piece. But yeah, not a ton of interest in me for Khalil Herbert right now. I mean, he has the upside, as we see. He can be a solid runner. He can get the targets. It just looks like an outlier game just because of how bad that Bears offense has been. And if they're down, they're not going to give Khalil Herbert the ball. Justin Fields is going to run it, or they're going to throw it to Moore or Komet. Maybe a few screens to Herbert, but just don't love that price tag. Komet, very solid option. I think he's a safe option. Obviously, it helps if he falls in the end zone because he doesn't get a ton of targets with a ton of depth in terms of the passing attempts. As you can see, his average is pretty much under 10. Doesn't really have long catches as well. But I think he's just a solid, safe option just because the Bears will probably be down and they're going to have to throw the ball a ton. Moving on down here, I really like Mooney. He's more of a big play wide receiver, but they're going to need that to stay in this game or have a chance of winning it. So I think I slightly prefer Mooney to Komet. He's a riskier option, but he's pretty cheap, 5,000. Has a ton of upside. I do like him. As I mentioned, really like Roshan Johnson. No matter the game script, he's going to get some work. And obviously, if it blows out, he's going to get that, end of the third quarter, fourth quarter run if it's really bad. Or if he's, popping off a few big plays. We've seen it. He has that upside, especially with the targets as well. He gets a few targets, so I do really like him down there. I'm sure the kickers will be pretty popular. Um, he's on the practice squad, but yeah, Cairo Santos, pretty solid kicker. I actually don't mind getting to him here. Hasn't had a huge upside here for the Bears because they've been so bad, but he's a really, really solid and consistent kicker. So I don't mind going to him. Bears defense, I guess they're playable. Sam Howell does turn over the ball a decent amount, but I just hate getting to defenses. You really need defensive touchdowns for them to pay off and be worth it. But with how primetime games have been going, I wouldn't be surprised if both defenses are in the winning lineup. And then Equanimous St. Brown going to be one of the more popular plays on the slates in terms of just if you're looking for some cheap value. 1,800 bucks. He played 50% of the snaps last week. I'm assuming that number will jump up to at least 60, if not more, being wide receiver 3 there for the Bears. Expect him to get a few targets as well. So he looks like a very, very solid just pay down option at 1,800. As I mentioned, Chase Claypool is not going to play. And then the more of like boomer bust, Hail Mary, dart throw plays are going to be Velus Jones, Robert Tunyon, um, and then Taylor. I mean, they really won't get targeted much, maybe 1 to 2, but that's really all it takes is it for that to happen and then for them to fall in the end zone on those 1 or 2 targets to possibly help you take down the slate. So I'll throw that out there. It's just I don't really like getting into any of them as of right now. But I will mention, Velus Jones is like a speedster, so they could incorporate him a little bit with some end arounds, maybe a long pass, maybe he returns one. But as of right now, no real interest in taking a shot on any of these cheaper guys unless you're going to go to Equanimous there at 1,800. For the Washington side here, Scary Terry obviously looks like the safest option here. I think he had a really good game against the Bears last year, if I'm not mistaken. He always does really solid against the Bears, so he looks really, really solid. The popular build is going to be like a 4-2 stack, Commanders to Bears, maybe even 5-1 Commanders to Bears, with Fields being kind of the lone play on the Bears side. That's probably going to be the popular build this week. So if you want to get a little bit contrarian in terms of your build, you can either go 3-3 or 4-2, 4 Bears, 2 Commanders, or even like 5 Bears, 1 Commanders if you want to get super, super contrarian. But yeah, I'd probably stick to 3 Bears, 3 Commanders, or 4 Commanders, 2 Bears if you want to go more so the safe route with a little bit of contrarian in there. Moving on down to Howell, I think he's very solid. 3 out of 4 games, he's gotten 15 or more fantasy points. Unless he does very, very bad or the game blows out, I think we can kind of pencil in, at least 13 fantasy points for Howell and a passing touchdown. So I think I'm going to throw him in there. He's a safe play on this slate, and it's always a safe option going to 2 quarterbacks. You can get different elsewhere if you're going to play both quarterbacks because that's what most people end up doing on showdown slates. Brian Robinson, 9,200. Don't love the price tag, but he is the running back 1. He's involved. He will see the rushing attempts, especially if you think the Bears will be down. Obviously, the Commanders will be running the ball. I think he's an okay play. Don't love landing on him. I'd rather get to the people who are more boom or bust, but he's there. Jahan Dotson, as we saw, he's not a bad option off of Scary Terry. For this wide receiver situation for the Commanders, it really comes down to ownership because Terry's obviously $3,200 more expensive than Jahan Dotson, and he's only seen 1 more target through 4 weeks. So I do think that will draw people to go to Dotson. That will draw people to go to Curtis Samuel, who's actually been solidly involved, especially last week, 8 targets. So I do think they'll pull some ownership from Scary Terry, and if that happens, I don't mind paying up for him at 10.2Ks because he is the main dog. He's the top dog there for the Commanders. If he's going to be low owned and people are going to get drawn to Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, maybe even Diami Brown, I don't mind getting to Scary Terry. That's kind of my thoughts there. But Jahan Dotson, a solid, consistent wide receiver. He's seen decent amount of targets. I don't mind getting to him there at 7,000. Curtis Samuel, I think between Dotson and Samuel, it comes down to ownership. I do prefer Samuel. He does have, it seems like, just a little bit more upside in terms of his workload. So he'll get the targets. He will get some random carries as well. He's pretty dynamic. He's coming off of, an injury. Quads hurt a little bit, but he should be good to go. So I like the price tag for him. It's pretty solid there, 5,600. for the opportunities he's seen. Commanders D 5,400. They have a great defensive line. The Commanders defense is getting pretty banged up right now. I forgot to mention for the Bears side, we want to attack the Commanders through the air. They're one of the best teams to target through the air. They're pretty pass funnel heavy right now because that D line is really, really good for the Commanders, and the secondary is not the best at all right now. So keep that in mind. They'll probably be super popular because the Bears' offense is terrible, but 5,400 for a defense is never, never worth it. It rarely works out if you guys look at the past showdown slates and the stats of defenses that are going to be super popular, like the Commanders, and that are that expensive. So if you're sharp, I would not play the defense unless you expect them to go off like the Seahawks did, which was absolutely brutal. Logan Thomas, I think, is a little bit too expensive here at 5,200 in terms of just his opportunities. Only saw 3 last week, 3 in week 2. He's more of a red zone threat, not more so of a middle of the field guy. So 5,200, it's he's only in play for me if there is low ownership on him. But if he's going to carry some ownership, I just don't think I'm going to get to him at 5,200. I'd rather pay down for someone else. Joey Slat, I do think will be a popular option. I think he's really solid there. Gibson, if you just think the game script's going to go into his hands of they need to use him in the passing game, I don't mind him. But I do think he'll carry low ownership, so he'll be a solid contrarian play. I do think a lot of people will look to Diami Brown a little bit, or they're going to look to Equanimous as the two cheap options there from both sides. I prefer Equanimous, but Diami Brown is there. They do have that connection, as I mentioned. I thought he got a touchdown last week. I was mistaken. I think that was Curtis Samuel, but yeah, he's there, 2,800. No real strong take on him. Cole Turner, unless you want to get super frisky, you can look to him as a dart throw. Same thing with I mentioned as like Velus Jones and Robert Tunyon, but I don't really think there's a need to get to those very contrarian guys. I think you can get more contrarian just in terms of ownership. I think that's what's going to, that's what it's going to take to take down the 500K to first. I think it's more so just going to be who can build the contrarian, like mid-range build rather than who can find like the cheap guy that's going to, find a touchdown and get you like 8 points for like, $800 salary wise. So that's kind of my thoughts there to build out the rest of this lineup. I do like getting into a few Bears. I do think it will be the a little bit more contrarian take here for this slate. So I do like Mooney there, as I mentioned, for the upside. And I do like getting to St. Brown for 1,800. A few catches, 3 catches, 40 yards. That'll easily pay off his salary at 1,800. So yeah, I do like that there. And then 8,600, we've Howell. Going to want to get to at least, one of his top dogs. I do like Scary Terry. These are 7,100 over. You can get to Jahan Dotson. You can get to Komet. You can get to, Curtis Samuel. You could get to the defense if you're one of those defensive slappies. I'm not. You can get different. Go to Roshan. Or you can get to one of the kickers. So a lot of money left over, and we have Fields and the captain. So I do like this build a decent amount here. You have Fields, you have Mooney, and you have Brown, and you have Howell, McLaurin. And it's really up to you how you want to kind of finish off this lineup here. I think right now, just in terms of game script, I think we'll go the chalky route, go with Komet there. So you get, what is it? 4 Bears, 2 Commanders. I think this is a solid build right here. $700 left over. That will help you get a little bit more contrarian. It'll help you get a little bit more contrarian going to 4 Bears instead of 4 Commanders. So yeah, this is kind of what I like for this first early look build. In terms of core plays, I like Fields. I think he's the best captain option. Going to be super popular, but for good reason in the captain spot. Him, I'm going to say him, McLaurin, Brown, and Mooney. I think these 4 are going to be the core plays as of right now. It may change if we get some random news, from either side. Maybe someone is injured. Something random could happen overnight. But yeah, this is the core plays. So I hope you guys like this video. Hopefully, this will be uploaded tomorrow morning. So hopefully the game tonight is good. Hopefully, but no promises made by the NFL with these primetime games. So once again, hit that like button, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.